How's it going, everybody? Alright, so I got baptized last Sunday. Everybody wanted to hear the story of how I came to Jesus, and I said I would wait and tell everybody today. So here's my my testimony on that. So I used to be like a really, an atheist, that's what you call it, but I was, a little bit, I would argue with people all the time, just to hurt people's feelings, I would speak against it all the time. I was raised back, when I was a kid, I went to the Baptist church with my grandparents, but when you're a kid, you don't really get it, Then in my teenage years, my aunt had been working with Mother Teresa over in Calcutta or something for a few years, and then when she came home from that, my mom got super hot on everything, and then started having us go to Catholic church, and doing the CCD classes, the catechism thing, confirmation, and then, I don't know if anyone's ever partaken in the Catholic religion, but the dogmatics and all that stuff is enough to, you're 15 or 16, you know what I mean? My parents gave me the option about a week before my confirmation as to whether or not I wanted to go through with it, and I was like, no, absolutely not. And then I joined a band and started doing a bunch of other stuff. And I was all in the, science and UFOs and space and, all that stuff. Anyway, so I was in the Army. I joined the Army in 2007. I went to Iraq for a year, which it's a bummer that I wasn't in the faith then, because it's like I spent a whole year walking around, well, not walking around, riding around in gun trucks, but in the Holy Land for a whole year with no appreciation whatsoever until now. So I kind of wish I went and seen the sights a little bit. Anyway, so I got out of the Army about 2010, almost 2011, and then about that time, YouTube was getting real big, where everybody was watching stuff on YouTube, and I got really big into conspiracy stuff, and so it started with UFOs and aliens and all that, and then that led me down the thing with interdimensional beings and stargates and all that stuff, which is odd because I saw a research documentary where when I was in Iraq, I had a weird experience there where we were inside the wire that night. We were staying in these things called shoes, which was a containerized housing unit. It's basically a trailer made out of a shipping container that they just cut windows in the door in. And I don't know, I had 3 other roommates, and we were all watching the new Fast and Furious movie because you could get $2 bootleg DVDs from the one store on the base there. So I don't know, I looked out the window and there was 4, it was like pillars of lightning coming down from the sky off in the distance, and I screamed at my 3 roommates. No one would look away from the TV to look at this, and then it was gone a minute later. And then a couple years later, I saw a research documentary where they were talking about, a Stargate in Iraq or something, but I'm sure it was something else, obviously. Anyway, that's a digression. So then, that stuff, that all led me down another rabbit hole of New World Order stuff with the one world global government, the Illuminati, which was the Bible conspiracy with, and then the missing books like Enoch and Jasher. I'm a bass player, I'm not a vocalist, so I don't really know the right distance from the microphone. But, and then that led me down to end times prophecy, where you can literally find videos out there of rivers in India running blood red. And this was going on I don't know, mid 2010 to about 10, 12 years ago. This stuff was already going down, rivers popping up in the middle of the desert over there, and it's all there. You can find it, and then that got me into all the different stuff that seeing the comparisons with today's society and Daniel, Revelation, and Days of Noah, all that stuff. So needless to say, I was starting to kind of like get a little conflicted in my head. Like I was starting to have doubts, like, maybe I've been an idiot. You know what I mean? So, I was starting to wonder, could this be real? But at the same time, I was still like watching Ancient Aliens and all that stuff, and thinking silly things like, oh, maybe God was an alien who came here and he evolved monkeys and yada yada yada. You know what I mean? So anyway. Alright, it was the day after Kat used to own a bar. It was called the Spinning Room over in Tannersville. And she had that place for about 15 years. And probably 2 years before we closed it was the last real big Halloween party where there were just like, the place was busting at the seams. And, so the next morning, I'm just like, I'm minding my own business, cleaning the bar. Wasn't really thinking about Jesus or God or anything. I was probably hungover. I was putting away quite a few pints a night those days. And so anyway, I had this big bucket of slop that I just swept up in the dance floor area. It was, I didn't even know what was in there. But I went to dump it on top of the trash. And heard like in the garbage can, and sitting on top of the garbage for no reason at all was a copy of the Holy Bible. And then I swear, it was like time stopped for a second. And then I heard a voice in my head, and it wasn't like the old Bible movies where it's like Thomas, like a big. It was like a slightly sarcastic friend, to be honest with you. It came in like a thought, and it said, hey, what's it going to be? And I was like, I just stood there and he said, you've been pouring filth on my word most of your life. There's your trash and here's my word, so what's it going to be? And I grabbed it out of the trash and I ran upstairs. I was living in an apartment over top of the bar. It was like, a secret stronghold that you had to go through a door in the back of the kitchen to get to. And I ran upstairs and I cried. And I had to take 15 minutes or something to kind of straighten myself out. And then, so then Jesus had spoken to me, and I knew what was good now. So afterwards, though, I was all fired up, but I was really confused. I didn't really know what to do next. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it, like none of my friends, nobody I knew was into this, and so I started to kind of cool off a little bit. I started to think maybe I was crazy, maybe I imagined the whole thing. But then I asked for one more sign, and praise Jesus, he actually humored me. I'm not going to get into that right now because I don't think some of you guys are ready for that. It's going to require a little bit of Bible study. But he did. And he came at me with that. He humored me with one last sign and sealed the deal. And I know it. And I'm his, and that's that. Now in hindsight, I got to deal with all my non-believer friends and acquaintances. Where I used to just, like I said, speak against God to people that I heard talking about it, just to, hurt feelings. And that's the thing about atheists. I was saying this to somebody the other day, there's no such thing as an atheist. You're just anti-God, because they sit there and they're like, I don't believe, but they won't let you believe, for one. They can't stand that you believe. And two, if you imply that they might go to hell from thinking like that, they just lose it. They just go insane. That's because the hard nose is disappearing. The hard nose. And so now I stand up. Anytime I hear anybody, I don't necessarily go around evangelizing, and I know better to get into it on Facebook with people. But if I'm out there somewhere and I hear somebody say something against God, I stand right up and I let them know, And I've only told this story, to a few people until now. I was sort of in the closet for a while, But that's kind of my other issue now, is that when I do tell the story, you get the people who still don't, these are people I know. I've never lied to them. I've never told them anything that was not true. But then, they'll still, I'll tell them a story, and they still go like, oh, well, you can have it if you want. Or they'll sit there and they'll start to opine on, oh, well, I believe there's a higher power somewhere, but not your God, not God, no. And it's like, I get super indignant over it, because it's like, this happened to me. Like, I didn't wake up one day and be like, oh, we should go. This is a thing that happened to me. It happened to me. And so, yeah, and I don't know where else I'm going with this, but I just want to thank you guys for being here for me. I'm really glad that we found, the fellowship that we needed, and I'm really happy to be here, and I love all you guys.